May we all place our right hand on our chests as we recite the quality policy. We are a client-friendly institution, always ready to deliver relevant, nurturing, and liberating K-12 basic education curriculum and services to all our customers. We commit to provide quality, timely, transparent, responsive, and equitable services to our stakeholders in compliance with the laws, rules, policies, procedures, and the principles of continual improvement for good governance.
To
To
recognize the
recognize the
participants who are with
participants
us
with
for
us
today,
for today,
may we
may
have
we
Sir Liberato T.
have
Umangay,
Umangay,
our EPS of the
EPS of the
HRD.
HR.
Sir?
Good morning. How are you po? We hope that everyone is comfortably seated in your respective places. We would like to acknowledge the participants for today's orientation. And as I'll be calling for your respective SDOs, please comment your name in the chat box. May we have the participants from SDO Batanes, headed by, of course, our Superintendent, Dr. Eduardo Escorpizo. Kapyan kamu Diyos sikha mabukhan SDO Batanes. May we also give our sweetest smiles to the land of smiling beauty, SDO Cagayan through Dr. Orlando Manuel. As I was saying, please comment your name as a way by which we can have your attendance in the chat box. Atin namang salubungin ng masigabong palakpakan ang ating sandigan, SDO Kawayan, through SDS Alfred Gumaru. Let's give way to the SDO City of Ilagan, Kakastan, Kasikanan, Kaatanangan, Katatayugan, with the SDS Dr. Gilbert Narag Tong. Intaymet sa rabwen tinaimbag kanagasat nga bigat, dagita ka SDO Isabela, with their Superintendent, Dr. Madeline Makaling. Let's stand to show our amazement as we welcome AHA Nueva Vizcaya. May we line up and salute to SDO Quirino, numero 1. At atin din namang batiin ang napakagandang umaga ang SDO Santiago City. And of course, last but not the least, participants from SDO Tugigaraw, Makastang Algaw, SDO Tugigaraw. We would also like to recognize our resource speakers for this morning's orientation. We have the Chief of the Human Resource Division, Sir Jerry B. Sario Jr., the Chief of the Field Technical Assistance Division, we have Ma'am Zenaida P. Alejo. We have the Senior Education Program Supervisor of the HRDD, Senior Education Program Specialist, I should say, sorry, Ma'am Salvina A. Macarubo. And of course, yours truly, Liberato T. Umangay Jr. of the Human Resource Development Division. So again, welcome to this orientation on the to this online orientation on the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Sir
Sir
Lieber.
Lieber.
And
And
now,
now,
it is
it
with
is with
great
great
honor and
honor and
pleasure to
pleasure to
have with
have with
us
us
our
our
Regional
Regional
Director,
Director,
R.D.
R.D.
Benjamin B.
Benjamin B.
Paragas,
Paragas,
to give
to give
us his
us his
inspirational
inspirational
message.
message.
Sir?
Sir?
Thank you, Camille. To our Assistant Regional Director, Dr. Jesse, to our resource speakers, Chief Jerry, Chief Seni, EPS Levy, and all the others, the schools division superintendents, assistant school division superintendents, education program supervisors, all school heads who are in attendance to this online orientation on the Philippine Professional Standard for School Heads and Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all. I noticed that this activity is an online orientation for both the school heads and supervisors. However, in the parts of the programs, I think the topics are only intended for supervisors. However, I'm happy to meet our competent, ever dedicated and visionary school heads and supervisors who are working even harder these days to ensure the implementation of distance learning. I am particularly impressed with the way you are making things happen in the field, which is a huge help for us in the regional office to report to central office our milestones, our challenges, our future courses of action for policy determination, either short term and long term. Your contributions, my friends, cannot be overemphasized, and the overall success of our work must be attributed in the large part to your successes in the schools, where, according to our beloved secretary, the real battle is fought and won. I would also like to take this opportunity to be candid and throw some challenges to you. And I want you to ponder on them and see how you can further strategize, mechanize, and attune your actions in the field. Let me enumerate them one by one. First, when reports are asked to be submitted to the regional office, it is always 100% compliant. Outstanding, no problem at all. It is music to our ears listening to those kinds of reports. Of course, we are delighted to have those feedback because they give us the idea how good we are in running our schools and in monitoring them. But I am a bit problematic on how to marry these perfect reports to the situations I myself have seen while going around the region. We continue to receive complaints via our DTEX, DOS hotline, and other communication lines, which is in contradiction to what we are reporting sometimes. Second, many of the complaints and problems we receive, sometimes via the 8888 and Public Assistance and Action Center or PAAC, at the central office could have been abated through conscientious monitoring and honest and open communication. You know, we have our own effective mechanism to validate and find out if things are in order. With the advent of the internet, we can easily build communication mechanism either to further strengthen the report we receive or totally debunk it at all depending on the feedback we will get. The latter is very sad because it implies that someone is not truthful, that there is a problem along the way. Third and lastly, it is easy to point out to concerned people when problems arise. Either they are named in the complaint or there are clues given that they are somehow indicative of a possible conclusion. For example, when a report is received, we make validation because that is part of our established process. So in the end, we can determine what the problem is, who did not tell the truth, who made a perfect report just to please superiors, etc., etc. These people are not helping the department at all. In fact, they are not helping the learners at all too. I hope I will not find such people among you, because as I have said, you play very important roles in the ultimate success of our work, the Department of Education. You are decision makers and shapers, and I hope the decision you make every single time will always consider what is best for our learners. I believe this orientation will further inculcate such virtues to all of you. Congratulations, SRDD Chief Jerry and staff, for coming up with this noteworthy activity. Again, congratulations and thank you, our dear school heads and supervisors, for your great work. God bless everyone.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much,
much,
Sir
Sir
Ben, for
Ben,
that
for that
inspiring
inspiring
message and
message
at
and
the
at the
same
same
time a
time a
challenge to
challenge
our
to our
participants.
participants.
Now,
Now,
to
to
set the
set the
direction of
direction
this
of this
activity,
activity,
may we
may we
have
have
Sir
Sir
Jerry B.
Jerry B.
Saryo
Saryo
Jr.,
Jr.,
Chief
Chief
Education
Education
Supervisor of
Supervisor
the
of the
HRDD, to
HRDD, to
give the
give the
statement of
statement of
purpose.
purpose.
Sir?
Sir?
Okay, so thank you once again, Cam. To everyone, good morning. And we're happy to see you virtually. Wala. So welcome to the orientation on the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and Supervisors. But this morning, we'll focus our attention to the competency standards for school heads. At the outset, allow me to thank our beloved Regional Director, Benjamin D. Paragas, for gracing this occasion. Thank you so much, Sir Ben, for that, as Camille mentioned, inspiring yet challenging message. So, my task this morning is to give you the statement of purpose, but I'd like to start with the labeling of our expectations. So the Department of Education has issued DepEd Order number 24, series of 2020, the Philippine Professional Stand or the National Adoption and Implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. So basically, this DepEd order is trying to revise our existing competency-based framework for school heads in the Department of Education. Along with DepEd Order number 24, we also have here DepEd Order number 25, series of 2020, or the National Adoption and Implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors, which I'm also going to touch in my talk because it would be nice if you will also understand, as a school head, the framework for supervisors, how it was developed. So this is indeed evidence of our quest for competency base in the Department of Education, triggered by a lot of internal and external context brought about by the changing in the demands of environment that we have in the Department of Education. So we have here the office has issued Regional Memorandum number 13, series of 2021. DHRDD NAYAP is conducting a series of orientation or online orientation to our school heads and supervisors in line with the new sets of professional standards for school heads and supervisors. And part of the slide, it says the Bureau of Human Resource Development or Human Resource and Organizational Development and the National Educators Academy of the Philippines shall promote and ensure wide dissemination of the professional standards in-depth ed through the conduct of orientations and capability building activities in all governance levels. That's the reason why we are having this morning the orientation for on the Philippine professional standards for school heads. The objectives of this orientation are the following. This orientation aims to reinforce knowledge and understanding of the field personnel on the Philippine professional standards for school heads and the Philippine professional standards for supervisors. And also to engage field personnel in discussion on the implementation of the professional standards. I'd like you to highlight the statement implementation of the professional standards because we will be clarifying things later on about series of frequently asked questions about integration of professional standards into the lives of our school heads and supervisors. We have here the orientation schedule. Today, February 23, 2021, our participants shall compose of the school heads in the 9 schools division offices of the 9 SDOs in Region 2, and we'll have a separate orientation for our RO and SDO chiefs, RO and SDO education program supervisors, and our PSDS on March 2, 2021. So our participants this morning will be watching via the YouTube. As to our program of activities, okay, we are done with the opening program and preliminaries. And then the next session after this leveling of expectation will be understanding professional standards. We also have here session 1, familiarization with the professional standards for school heads, the general overview, and then session 2, familiarization with the PPSSH, career stages, domains, and strands, as well as the indicators. And this afternoon, we'll have session 3 on practices that demonstrate the achievement of indicators, and session 4, discussion of practical suggestions for the implementation of PPSSH. And of course, the last part will be the closing program. In addition to the etiquettes, no, online etiquettes, Camille had shared earlier, we also have here some orientation norms. So everyone is requested to comply with the following in the entire duration of this activity. First, you must have to complete your attendance on all the sessions to be shared later on, accomplishment of all tasks and outputs, participants in discussions during both the plenary and breakout sessions, because this afternoon we'll have breakout sessions now for the remaining topics. And of course, certificate of participation will be emailed to you in either 3 to 7 days after accomplishing the online evaluation. I'd like to share some of the frequently asked questions, no? And these are initial list of FAQs that BHROD was able to capture during the national orientation. And I'm sure other FAQs will be shared by you later on as we go through the different sessions. So we have here 5 FAQs. What are the different KRAs and how do we assess school heads and supervisors? I'm sure parehas yung iniisip natin ngayon, no, when it comes to assessing our school heads and supervisors in line with the new sets of professional standards. What are the specific duties and responsibilities of school heads and supervisors in the Philippine professional standards for school heads? And and the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors, respectively. Because we know for a fact that we have existing compendium or key result areas specific for supervisors and school heads. Number three, what are the MOVs to be used or to be provided in order to satisfy these indicators? No, it can be through it can be used through performance management or even for promotion. How do we identify the current career stage of a school head or supervisor, and how can one move from one career stage to the next? So these are actually anticipated questions coming from our school heads. And we have also, what are the processes involved in the appraisal of performance of school heads and supervisors? And this has something to do with the IPCRF or results-based, or OPCRF or the results-based performance management system for school heads. So you are a little bit advanced in asking these questions because we want to emphasize that we are not yet there, because as stated in section 9 of DepEd Order number 25 on the transitory provision, it says there, notwithstanding with the release of these policies, existing policies shall govern the Department of Education, DepEd HR systems, the rules and regulations until the implementation guidelines anchored on the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads or on the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors are issued. So the very reason why we are having this orientation is that we want you to gain a certain level of understanding and knowledge about the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. And once we gain that certain confidence and level of understanding about the PPSSH and the PPSS, then we can move to applying the professional standards. But that provision, again, will not allow you already from exploring the standards if you may wish to. He- Here is an FAQ also captured by BHROD. Is there a standardized RPMS tool for school heads to be used in SY 2020-2021 and for supervisors in calendar year 2021? And the answer is no. So wala pang standardized RPMS tools aligned to the new sets of professional standards. It says here, we don't have the standardized tool yet, but we encourage the school heads or that school heads and supervisors craft their OPCRF or IPCRF using the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and PPSS and reconcile it with the SIP and AIP of the school for school heads and with the division development plan of the or regional development plan of the region and division development plan for division office supervisors. Part of my task this morning is to also walk you through the professional standards in general. But it's good to have a basic understanding of professional standards before we go to the details of the professional standards for school heads and professional standards for supervisors. But very briefly, allow me to also introduce or reintroduce to you the Research Center for Teacher Quality. So what is RCTQ? So they are the Philippine National Research Center for Teacher Quality. And their mission is to conduct high-impact applied research directed at strengthening teacher quality. And they are also being supported by the Philippine and the Australian governments. RCTQ is a partnership between the Philippine Normal University, the country's National Center for Teacher Education by virtue of RA 9647, and the University of New England in Australia through the SEMER National Research Center. Operationalization of RA 9647. RCTQ supports PNU in its mandate as the National Center for Teacher Education. Hence, RCTQ provides technical support to the Department of Education and even to the Commission on Higher Education in their programs and projects that chart policies and recommendations on teacher training, teacher education, continuing professional education of teachers, and academic supervisors, and even teacher education curricula. RCTQ also conducts researches, case studies, and other appropriate methodologies to enhance curriculum and training designs for teacher training, teacher education, and continuing professional education of teachers and academic supervisors. RCTQ also provides research and technical assistance um, and is currently focused on the implementation phase of the transformation of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines, including the development of the teacher induction program for new teachers that is currently lodged at the Office of the Secretary and NAYAP that lead this effort. RCTQ will help also the Department of Education through the BHROD in the alignment of HR systems for teachers and school leaders with the PPST and similar standards for school leaders. We have the PPSSH and PPSS for our supervisors. These depth and reform efforts offer, among others, a teacher induction program that uses various learning methodologies for different school typologies, among other enhancements, making it also responsive to COVID-19 crisis situation. So we also have here standards-based career progression and performance management system, which helps teachers adapt and respond more quickly to circumstances associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. They also have resource materials for teachers, and you can access them through their website, rctq.ph. So they have modules, videos that the teachers or school leaders can access to help teachers help our learners. So these are big studies that they have done with the Department of Education that inform their current assistance. So we have the NAYAP Transformation Study, development and validation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. Most recently, we have the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. And underway the development of the professional standards for our non-teaching personnel. We also have here teacher development needs study and the pre-service teacher development needs study. You must be very familiar with this quote, and because we need to keep supporting our teachers, we want the education system to improve. Hence, we cannot ignore our teachers. But what is missing in this code is that we need to support our teachers. We will need to support people that work with them also, particularly our school heads and supervisors. My main topic is about understanding professional standards. And this is going to be the outline of my talk. Briefly, I'll give you an introduction. I'll start with what you know on the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, PPST in the 2019 World Bank report, and I'll give you a new introduction to the recently released professional standards for school heads and supervisors. And part two is the main talk, understanding the professional standards. What are professional standards? Why professional standards? Uses of professional standards and professional standards with career stage descriptions. Let's start with what you know. With Depth Order number 42 series of 2017, which is called the National Adoption and Implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. If you know and understand the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, it's easy for you to understand the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. Just a review, and this is from page 2 of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. In terms of the structure, we have the domains, and domains have strands under them and specified through indicators across career stages. So every domain has a strand, and in terms of career stages, we have 4 career stages for the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. And we have named them as beginning teacher for career stage 1, proficient proficient teacher for career stage 2, highly proficient teacher for career stage 3, and distinguished teacher for career stage 4. So career stages are descriptions of developmental practice. At the left side, you will find strands, and these are focused areas, and across the strands, you find indicators that are concrete, observable, measurable teacher practices. Moving on, these are the domains of the professional standards. The Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers has 7 domains, and you must be very familiar with these 7 domains. And just like what I said earlier, BHROD has started to integrate the standards in the depth and HR systems in terms of recruitment, selection and placement, performance management, learning and development, and BHROD is working on promotions and career progression. I would like to emphasize what I said earlier. We are not yet talking about tools in this session. We are not yet talking about concrete things about performance management, about recruitment, selection, and placement, or how to go about promotions and career progression and even selection. We are just talking of the basis of all those, the foundation of all those policies that DepEd will develop later on. The foundation is the professional standards. This cake shows very clearly the many aspects of HR systems where we can integrate professional standards, which PPSSH and PPSS will be integrated into later on. I'd like to emphasize this statement by Darling Hammond. Piecemeal teacher development policies not connected by a common vision are roadblocks to teaching and learning. So this is the same for school heads and supervisors. The Department of Education cannot afford to have policies that are given by piecemeal. They have to be interconnected and they must have to be interrelated. In the second part, it says here what's needed is a cohesive and comprehensive approach aimed at aligning policies and incentives for recruitment, certification, preparation, induction, and professional development under the same set of standards. Because it could be confusing or chaotic if the framework that you use for recruitment or we use for recruitment is different from the framework we use for induction, is different from the framework we use for performance management or for professional development. In the World Bank report of 2019, there is an acknowledgement of what's needed of for a country's economic success. So this is a report on economics, the Philippines economic update, which says rapid technological advances are increasingly making human capital, which refer to knowledge, skills, and good health essential to a country's economic success. I think you agree with the World Bank, or we agree that human capital is a critical drive of both economic growth and inclusion. In this World Bank report, we are very pleased that the report has recognized a large number of initiatives in the Philippines focused on boosting human capital development. One of the three initiatives that's recognized by the World Bank is the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. If we help develop the 850,000 something teachers in the Philippines that boost so much human capital in the Department of Education, and very soon we are adding school heads, or currently we are adding school heads and supervisors with their new professional standards. So we need to keep developing our human capital. So after the Philippine Professional Standards, the Department of Education decided to extend its support to school heads and supervisors via the implementation of DepEd Order number 24 and DepEd Order number 25, both series of 2020, the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads and the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. So that means the Department of Education can strengthen the human capital. So we have here the framework for teacher quality, which is the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. And we have also a framework for ensuring people and school effectiveness, which is through the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads, and a framework for supporting organizational effectiveness and implementation and management of curriculum through the Philippine Professional Standards for Supervisors. Now let's go to the professional standards. So what are professional standards? I use the definition in DepEd Order number 24 and DO 25 series of 2020. So professional standards refer to professional practice expected of quality professionals to achieve at every stage of their career. So when we refer to professional practice, that's what we do as school heads or supervisors or as teachers. This is what we expect from quality professionals. So those that are not quality professionals, they need to work hard so they reach the professional standards. Every quality professional should show achievement of professional standards. The standards set realistic, achievable, and minimum level of acceptable performance. I repeat, every quality professional should show achievement of professional standards. The standards set realistic, achievable, and minimum level of acceptable performance. So for teachers, for example, if you have been in the Department of Education for 2 years or 3 years or even more, you are expected to be at career stage 2. So that's your minimum level of acceptable performance. If you are a master teacher in the Department of Education, the minimum level of acceptable performance is at highly proficient career stage or career stage 3. Internationally, quality is articulated in professional standards. So what is a quality professional? A quality professional is the one that can show achievement of the indicators that are in professional standards. So professional standards are public statement of professional accountability. And this tells the public what we do in the profession as teachers, as school heads, and as supervisors, what we are expected to do, and what we are expected to accomplish in the profession. So standards are also sufficiently generic to represent practice. So in terms of teachers, no matter what subject area they teach or no matter what grade level they teach, they should be able to relate to the professional standards for teachers. I also would like to emphasize that the standards are responsive to emerging circumstances. RCTQ received some questions from people that ask, are we going to revise the standards because of COVID-19? Ang sagot po ng RCTQ dito, we are not going to revise the standards due to COVID because the standards are generic in nature and they are responsive to emerging circumstances. The needed skills for teachers, and I'm sure with your discussions later on, for school heads, the needed skills are captured generically in the standards. So just some examples in PPSP. Strand 3.4 is about learners in difficult circumstances. This was in 2017. This strand or indicator was developed in 2017 and COVID started in 2020. So teachers should be able to respond to learners in difficult circumstances, uh, whether or not we are under COVID. So that's the expectation in the professional standards. Under Strand 4.5, selection, development, and use of variety of teaching and learning resources, including ICT to also address learning goals. So why do we need professional standards? The main purpose is to promote and guide professional practice. So what's need to be done? What's the expectation and how do we encourage people to become better? We always refer to the professional standards. Why professional standards? As a continuation, they define quality or yes, expected of professional across the continuum of career stages. They make explicit what professionals, example teachers, should know, be able to do, and value to achieve competence, improve student learning outcomes, and eventually quality education. They also support professional practice, including improvement of teacher, school head, supervisor quality, and through this learner achievement. So the professional standards provide a framework for the practice of the profession. What's my framework for the practice of the profession? That's the professional standards. So even without you looking at RPMS tools, without looking at assessment tools, people should be able to use the professional standards for professional reflection. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the indicators that I am not able to achieve? Or are there indicators that I need to pursue some more so that I become better? So minus all the tools surrounding the standards, the RPMS tools, assessment tools, for example, we use the standards basically to guide our practice for professional reflection. I copied here some uses of professional standards from DO42 series of 2017, use as a basis for learning and development programs for teachers, school heads, and supervisors. So we already included school heads and supervisors to ensure that they are properly equipped to effectively implement the K to 12 program. Can also be used for the selection and promotion and even career progression of teachers, school heads, and supervisors, and can be used in the performance appraisal. So, work after the professional standards would be aligned to those systems and policies, or to align those systems and policies to the professional standards, and to make the professional standards the foundation or basis of policies for teachers and for school heads or even for our supervisors. Now, I'll talk about professional standards with career stage descriptions. The teacher career descriptions will use the framework for career progression, and we believe that teachers, school heads, and supervisors must be supported through a continuum of development, which enables them to improve their practice and move to higher career stages. And this gives people the opportunity, the chance to know the expectations of him or her so that she or he can move to higher career stages. So currently, if I'm at this career stage, what do I do so that I become better in my practice? So I look at career stage 3, for example, and see there which ones I'm not able to accomplish yet, and that's what I need to work on maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. So why are career stages important? The description of standards at different career stages provides a framework for the teacher development continuum, and we can say the same for school heads and supervisors development continuum. Would we want principal 4 to have the same level of practice as a principal 1? Or we have higher expectations of a principal 4 having been in the field for a long time, managing various schools of different size, big schools, large schools, or even mega schools? So if we have a new school head that refers to the professional standards, the new school head would know how to improve his or her practice by looking at the next career stage. So that's a framework for development. We've also or always advocated for teachers that evaluation should be based on professional teaching standards. And that's also what we think of evaluation for school heads and supervisors. supervisors. If you want to know if a teacher is good, then you have to see his or her practice based on the professional standards. So career stages are like this. It talks about professional growth. You begin your profession from the first arrow. You move to the next arrow because of experience, trainings, and many other factors. You help yourselves or yourselves. The department supports you to move to the next career stage, to higher career stages. It's not actually acceptable to stay at the beginning career stage or for school heads at career stage 1. After some years and gaining some experience in your profession as a school head, you should be able to improve. You should be able to move to the next career stage. One criticism of this for people who don't understand career stages very well is that they feel boxed. So parang nakabox po sila dito sa arrows na ito. Like you are career stage 1, you are career stage 2, I'm career stage 3 for example. But you have to remember as a school head and supervisor that career stages are developmental in nature and exist on a quality continuum. So when you are, for example, a new principal, career stage 2 will be your level or career stage, yeah. Let's say you are promoted to principal position, you start to improve your practice. Let's say you have 34 indicators, but in those indicators, you are now demonstrating other indicators for career stage 3. So this is about increasing level of proficiency. You are already familiar with this illustration because we've been using this in the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. So we use it for PPST, but this is similar with school heads and supervisors. Those that want to become school heads, NEAP will have to offer programs for those that are qualified and those that are interested to go to the principal track so that they are ready to do the job of being a principal, which is that of career stage 2. So career stage 1 is preparing you to become principal. And career stage 2 is a full-fledged principal. But when you are in career stage 2, again, you need to keep improving yourself so that you reach career stage 3 or even career stage 4. Implications of career stages. Career stage 1 offers realistic requirements of teachers, potential school heads, supervisors in training. The ones that would like to become school heads or supervisors, NEAP supports a framework to design school head or supervisor programs. Career stage 2, just like what I said earlier, is already for those of good quality and is what teacher, school head, or supervisor need to achieve to enjoy success and a sense of genuine professionalism. So you are of good quality when you reach career stage 2. But then others become better. So we need people that can mentor others, but they cannot mentor others if they are not capable of quality teaching or in your case, high quality school leadership. High quality can mentor others. So if you are a school head and you are of high quality, then that puts you on career stage 3. And you can mentor other school heads who belong to career stage 2. So career stage 4 is for exemplary teaching and for you that is exemplary school leadership. In my next slide, this is going to be my last for the meat of this talk. I'd like you to remember that the professional standard development or the professional standards develop and support high quality teachers, school heads, and supervisors. And the professional standards foster high quality teaching and leadership. So school heads should aim at achieving the professional standards so they can show that they are of quality, and of course we want people to be of high quality. So we now have a complete set of the standards, the ones that support teachers. We have the Philippine Professional Standards for teachers, the ones that support school heads. We have the Philippine Professional Standards for school heads, and of course, the Philippine Professional Standards for supervisors. This is a set of standards to also support our supervisors. RCTQ has also available resources online, and you can visit at www.rctq.ph for more information. And if you need to ask questions or help from RCTQ, you may contact them through their email address or even at their website. So, Cams, can we have 15 minutes or Cams?
Yes, sir.
Can we have 15 minutes or shorter health
Yes,
break
sir.
before we proceed to the next session?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Sir Jerry, for your for the overview of the Philippine professional standards. And for now, we'll be declaring a 5 to 10 minute health break. So um, to our participants, if you need to have your snacks or go for your necessities, so we'll be back for the second part or the second session. Thank you.
Good grammar and
Okay, so we are done with our health break. We will now continue our session. Again, may we have Sir Jerry Fario for the continuation of the discussion. Sir?
Thank you, Cam. So we're now transitioning to session one, no? So I have here a slide. So we'll have a short activity. So I'll ask the questions from this slide. When you plan to become school heads or supervisors, were you clear about the expectations of the job? Or when you finally became school heads or supervisors, did you have a clearer understanding of what is expected of you as a school head or supervisor? Or what was the basis you used to guide your professional practice as school heads or supervisors? So, from this set of questions, no, I think you can use the chat box or chat feature of the YouTube where you can write your answer. So, Comes, can we give them 3 minutes for this activity for them to reflect and, of course, to share their thoughts on these questions? So, I repeat, when you plan to become school heads or supervisors, were you clear about the expectations of the job? Or when you finally became school heads, did you have a clear understanding of what is expected of you as a school head? Or what was the basis you used to guide your professional practice as school heads? So can anyone share his or her thoughts through the chat box?
Sa YouTube po. YouTube chat box, ma'am. Ayun, Ma'am Maribel de la Rosa. Ano yung question kanina, sir? Ano yung question ulit ni sir, ma'am?
Can anyone share? When you plan to become a school heads, were you clear about the expectations? Okay, from Ma'am Mirna Contapay, sabi po niya, yes, but limited. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts. We have also from Cheryl Sabidra, by using the Philippine professional standards. Pero before, ano ma'am, before the release of this PPSSH, uh, do you have other tools na naging guide nyo when you were promoted as principal? From Mary Grace Gamad, as a school head, I will always set as my guiding principle the standard set. Okay. From Joel, use the professional standards for school heads. Since I became, still from Ma'am Mirna, a school head in 2008. So thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have Dali Aguilar. Yes, sir. I had a clear understanding of my duties and functions, and it served as my anchor of what are expected that I'm going to deliver to my clientele. Okay, thank you, Dali, for sharing your thoughts on the given questions. Okay, from Ophelia Pasikolan, KRA reflected in the OPCRF was then my guide. Okay, that's a good reference also in the deliverance of my duty aside from the SIP and AIP. And it's nice to note that the standard tool will be given to school heads. Okay. Other sharers from Virginia, as a school head should always be guided by the principles. We have the PPSH as a tool for a successful leader. From Ma'am Glenda Pira, yes sir, through the duties and responsibilities stipulated in my appointment. So basically,
Ay, ano kasi ma'am to?
when we planned to become school heads, we already have a clear understanding about our expectations, no, when it comes to our job, or when we finally appointed as school heads, for example, we have already a clearer understanding of what is expected of us as a school heads. And thank you for mentioning KRAs, the NCBTS, for example, SIP, and of course yung duties as reflected in the PDF, and of course Magna Carta for Teachers. And these are good references, of course,
Hindi available yung free.
for school heads. But
Meron
you would also agree with me when I say some of our school heads are not actually ready, or the expectations were not actually clear before they were appointed, or once, or when they were appointed as school heads, no? And then saka lang naging clear yung expectations natin of the job when we are immersed, or when we are actually doing the jobs of a school head. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you for those thoughts and responses. So this is session 1 on familiarization with the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, the general overview. So I'll just do the introductory part for this session, as the meat of this session shall be discussed to us by our new Senior Education Program Specialist at the National Educators Academy of the Philippines Regional Office. So this is the background and rationale. Of course, the need to complement the standards for teachers. We have the DepEd Order number 42 series of 2017, the national adoption and implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. And this is according to the OECD 2008 report. it says school leadership plays a key role in improving school outcomes by influencing the motivations and capacities of teachers as well as the school climate and of course the environment. And as said earlier, DepEd Order number 24 series of 2020 was just recently released, and it's all about the national adoption and implementation of the Philippine professional standards for school heads. And along with this, we have DepEd Order number 25 series of 2020, and this talks about the national adoption and implementation of the Philippine professional standards for supervisors. I would just like to share the developing and validating process when it comes to the professional standards. So we have here, they uses they use quantitative approach and qualitative approach. So under quantitative approach, gumamit po sila ng psychometric studies of indicators, and then sinabayan nila ng survey of school heads and supervisors. And on the qualitative approach part, gumamit sila ng document analysis through FGD, RTD, and semi-structured interviews, and also they did consultations with key stakeholders. So ito yung process RCTQ and BHROD have adopted, or DepEd have adopted, working on the professional standards for school heads and supervisors. And the same design was utilized in the development of the Philippine professional standards for teachers. We have here the advisory board, no, composed of the co-chairs. We have J-Lo from BHROD and Director Jan from NIAP. And members, we can see in here our regional directors, no, and of course different consultants uh, for the development of the professional standards. Okay, the advisory board also will provide fresh perspectives on various matters, and then they direct the thinking to issues that may not be on the radar of the research team. No? So yung hindi na capture ng research team when they do the different
Pero lahat po to school heads,
development,
school
when they
staff,
implemented the development designs, no, yung mga hindi na-capture, ito yung trabaho ng advisory board to direct the thinking of the research team. And also, they ensure that the work is relevant to the Department of Education and to the wider community. And here are also members of the technical working group. So, yung they all composite po yung member. They also invited PSDS, Education Program Supervisors, ASDS, and SDS from various regions. And then these were the activities conducted during the development process. So nagkaroon ng advisory board meetings, and these are the dates: November 9, 2018, January 11, 2019, and then we have for April 16, 2019. And also a series of TWG meetings and rights shops from November 2018 to February 2019. And part of the rights shops, we have revisions and finalizations. And I think some of you school heads were involved during this development process. Also, consultation with stakeholders were also organized during the development process. And we have here the dates and, of course, the stakeholders who were involved during the consultation process. And I think Region 2 was also part of the consultation process. And we also was asked to identify potential school heads to form part of the consultation workshop. Also, the validation process across regions. So we can see in this slide, I think Region 2 also participated. But venues we have in Metro Manila, in Region 5, in Region 10, in Cebu Region 7, also in Iloilo Region 6, and Leyte Region 8. Okay, so second and third validation across regions. Ito, andito na yung Region 2. So dito sa NEA po yung venue ng second and third validation process. No? And then I think we invited core group of participants who participated in the second and third validation process. So I think I'll end my presentation here, and I'll now turn the floor to Ma'am Bing, our new SEPs at NEAP, to discuss to you the contents of DepEd Order number 24 series of 2020. So thank you so much for listening. Good morning.
Thank you, Sir Jerry. Ma'am Salvina, we are just waiting for her slides to show.
Nakikita na. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Again, good morning to all our school heads and to our chiefs and supervisors and also our SDS or ASDS who are currently joining us. Good morning po. My task is to present to you the salient points of the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. So we start with DepEd Order number 24 series of 2020, or known as the National Adoption and Implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. So here are the salient points of the DepEd Order, which states that school heads, as stewards of schools, play a crucial role in ensuring an enabling and supportive environment for effective teaching and learning. So we all know that as school heads, your main role is to be a caretaker of your respective schools, as well as to manage the operations and of course the overall operations of the school. So the next salient point of this DepEd order is that changes brought about by various national and global frameworks, such as the K-12 Basic Education Program, ASEAN Integration Globalization, and the changing character of the 21st century learners, necessitate a call for the rethinking of DepEd Order number 32, series of 2010, entitled The National Adoption and Implementation of the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads. So we live in a dynamic system, no? So thus we need to embrace and adapt to the changes that are happening in our system. The PPSSH introduces a continuum that supports school heads to improve their professional practice and pursue career progression. So our PPSSH now serves as our direction, like what you're saying in the chat box, that this serves as our direction to where you are heading to. So what are the positions covered by this PPSSH? So this covers all the school heads or principals in the Department of Education, as well as the school heads or principals in the private schools. They are also encouraged to adopt these PPSSH as their guideposts for their functions and crucial roles as leaders and managers of their respective schools. So why PPSSH? Why do we need to adopt and embrace the PPSSH? So it says here, we need this guide because the DepEd recognizes the roles of school heads in improving the quality of basic education in the Philippines. It upholds that quality student learning is contingent upon quality teachers who are supported by quality school leaders. And it also recognizes the importance of professional standards in the continuing professional development and advancement of school heads. So we all know that producing a quality student learning is dependent upon the kind of leadership that we have. If we lead with quality, of course, we produce quality output, and that is quality learner or quality student. So, what is the PPSSH? PPSSH is a set of standards for school heads that articulates the professional practice expected of a quality school head. This means that when we say quality, it embraces the holistic performance of the school head rather, which is dependent on the leadership of the school head. That is why it is embedded in these standards the continuing professional development for school head. Okay. Next, the PPSS aid serves as a public statement of professional accountability of school heads. So when we say professional accountability, we cannot retract our obligation because when we serve as a school manager or school leader in our respective school, we have the obligation to manage all the operations and functionality of the school. And next, it sets out what school heads are expected to know, be able to do, and value as they progress in their profession. So, may I say that this is likened to a big star, a Polaris rather, which serve as our guidepost to where we are heading to. Okay, our guide, the bright and shining star, the Polaris. And next, it provides for a common language for high impact leadership expected of school heads, specifically to guide individual professional reflections as well as professional discussions among educational leaders and other stakeholders, and to inform the provision of professional learning and development for school heads. So that's why we continuously encourage our school heads to um, pursue their continuing professional development opportunities for career advancement. Okay? And the PPSS aids shall be the foundation of relevant human resource systems, policies, guidelines, and mechanisms, including the recruitment, selection, and placement, performance appraisal, rewards and recognition, and talent management of school heads. So, in other words, it is the baseline for all the operations, including the recruitment, of course, and hiring of quality teachers to cater for producing quality learners at the end. And it is the basis for all their professional development programs. That is why in our OPCRF, we have our individual professional development programs. When we say or plan all our professional development, the need for our professional development for our continuing development as school heads. And the PPSS aids aims to set out clear expectations of school heads along well-defined career stages of professional development from beginning to exemplary practice. It also engages school heads to actively embrace a continuing effort to attain high levels of proficiency, and of course, to provide support for professional learning and development, help identify development needs, and facilitate uniform assessment of performance. So we keep on saying that this PPSSS aids now is our standard guideline to facilitate our the uniformity of our performance, regardless of what school you belong, big or small, medium or large. So through the PPSSH, DepEd also has its commitments, and these are the following. First, support school heads in the performance of their mandates and roles in the regions, schools division and or schools, including the improvement of teacher quality and eventually the production of learner achievement. Next is to promote the continuing professional development and advancement of school heads based on the principles of career-long learning. Okay? And of course, to help school heads reflect on and assess their own practice as they aspire for and pursue professional development. Okay, so along with this is our inclusion of IDPs, as I mentioned earlier, or individual development plans attached to our OPCRF later on. And if I may say that the outcome of quality of our leadership is seen on the quality of learner that we produce in our respective schools. So we proceed to the framework of our PPSSH. The image shows here the interaction of different factors. We have 5 domains, and this shows a broad conceptual sphere of leadership practices depicting in 5 domains. And these are leading strategically, managing school operations and resources, focusing on teaching and learning, developing self and others, building connections. So these 5 domains here are interconnected, and the main synergies are school effectiveness and people effectiveness. So the two factors that depicts the synergy between maximizing school effectiveness and ensuring people effectiveness through a broad sphere of instructional and administrative practices. So we can see here that school effectiveness and people effectiveness are interconnected with each other. We don't only produce effective school, but we also produce effective people through our human resources, our teachers and our personnel that we have in our respective school. And the core here is developing holistically developed Filipino learners. This shows learners at the center of the framework to emphasize the important role of school heads for the improvement of learner achievement. That's why it is in the core of this cycle, the holistically developed Filipino learners. When we say holistically, it doesn't only depicts the improvement of the cognitive aspect of the learner, but the whole person of the learner, the whole aspect, the different aspects of the Filipino learner. Okay, so those are the interconnections of the 5 domains and the synergy between school effectiveness and people effectiveness. The PPSSH framework adheres to the following principles. First, it is learner-centered. So we keep on focusing and repeating that we are here in the service because of our client, and our client is the learner. No? That's why our school exists, because we have our learners. And the second, it emphasizes building and strengthening a network of stakeholders for school and people effectiveness. So our partnership and connections to our different stakeholders is also crucial to as our role as school leader. Partnership and connections. And C, it reflects the understanding of problems and issues at the school and the need to address them. Of course, as school leader, we have to have a deeper reflection and analysis, and of course, knowledge and wisdom in resolving whatever problems and issues that arises in our respective school. And it focuses on developing high quality instructions, developing a strong school culture, and ensuring job embedded professional development for school personnel. So it's part of our role as operation manager. Next, it reflects values and concepts in promoting school success. So learner achievement. And it regards supervision as a crucial organizational behavior in school management. still under operations, and it highlights the importance of accountability and transparency of school heads. So we emphasize accountability and transparency. And the last, it is anchored on the principles of inclusivity. When we say inclusivity, we involve every stakeholders. Okay, we don't discriminate everyone, especially in our scope of jurisdiction in our respective community and school. So the next slide shall lead you to a brief reflection activity for discussion. So you are instructed to analyze the image on the next slide, and you are also encouraged to share your thoughts with regards to the image. And maybe we are giving you 10 minutes to reflect on the image and kindly share your thoughts. Please write your responses, reflections on the chat or comment box section. Kindly indicate your name, your school, and your division. So this is the image. Our guide question is, how would you relate the PPSSH with the image? I think your time starts now. 10 minutes. Okay, hello there. Hello there once again. So, I have seen a lot of comments in our comment box. So, may I just read a few? But anyway, thank you for all your responses in the comment box. No. So this our image. How would you relate the PPSH with the image? So you have seen that there are two round wheels, and the cart is having a square wheel. No? So if I may to ask everyone, if the steering wheel is round, would you be too busy to accept it? So maybe the two steering wheels here represents the PPSSAs. And there are school heads. No, I'm sorry. The image here maybe represents some school heads who are too busy that they don't accept the steering wheel. They don't embrace the PPSSAs, which can help them make their task easy, which can guide them to make their task easy. That's my personal processing on the image. But of course, there you have your personal reflections here, and from Sir Renato Acosta, he said that there are easier way to do a task. And from Ma'am Rubelin Castro, as a school head, we have our great responsibility and should always adapt the emerging needs in any situation. Kaganda, no? And from Ma'am Lucila Patalitan, the image shows negative response, and that as a school head, we have to be ready to such attitude. And from Ma'am J. Ann Garcia, the image shows that there should be open-mindedness to be able to effect change. In like manner, with the roles of school heads, they must be open with suggestions or changes to improve their jobs. And from Ma'am Glenda Pira, the image implies that without PPSS aids, there will be more resources wasted without achieving the vision or purpose in our work and duties. From Ma'am Gina Padua, a challenge to every school, a greater responsibility for a change. And from Sir Eric Padayuman, we are in one boat, so we have to accept the challenges. And from Ma'am Nelita Sebastian, from Batanes, sometimes we are preoccupied with other things and tend to evade the reality that we need to undergo continuous professional development, that we need to grow. And from Ma'am Carmen Noguera, a school head should be flexible and accommodating to all her client or stakeholders. And a lot of interactions, and I think you have a very good reflections on the image. So thank you very much, our dear school heads, for your reflections, for your brilliant reflections and active participation on our reflection part in these slides. And I would like to congratulate and thank everyone for participating through the chat box. So with this, I would like to thank you for actively listening and giving us of course, your time in attending to this slide. Thank you very much. So while waiting for Ma'am Camille, magbabasa pa po tayo ng ating mga comment. Gaganda kasi while waiting for our facilitator, our moderator rather, from Ma'am Marilyn Tapa of Larion Bajo Elementary School, Division of Tuguegarao City. The picture depicts that the school head might overlook the standards or the most important aspect of leadership and management due to the loads of responsibilities. So again, thank you very much, our school heads, for all your brilliant answers and participation in our chat box. God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Kami, and also to Sir Jerry. So they both presented to us session one, which is the familiarization with the Philippine professional standards for school heads. So now we'll be delving into session two. Session two
Okay, so session 2 is the familiarization with the PPSSH, career stages, domains, strands, and indicators. So session 2 will be presented by Ma'am Zenaida P. Alejo, the Chief Education Program Supervisor of the Field Technical Assistance Division, and by Sir Liberato T. Umangay Jr., Education Program Supervisor of the Human Resource Development Division. So now, may we call on Sir Lib for the first part of session 2. Sir, may I stand to be corrected? So the first part of session 2 will be discussed by Ma'am Zenaida P. Aleo. Ma'am Zen,
Hello, good morning everyone. Naririnig po ba ninyo ako?
yes,
Okay. It's my pleasure, my friends, to be with you today. And before I will start with our sharing pertaining the new theme for today, I would like to greet everyone, specifically our regional director, Sir Ben, our assistant regional director, Sir Jasmine, to all the schools division superintendents and assistant schools division superintendents of the entire Region 2, the starring of today's occasion, the school heads, supported by our EPS, CID chiefs, and EPS in the division level. Good morning, everyone. You have heard so much already since this morning, starting from the presentation of Sir Jerry Sario, our Chief Education Supervisor, down to Ma'am Salvi, our SEPs, containing the first episode of this sharing. And now, my friends, we are on session 2, which is all about the familiarization with the Philippine professional standards for school heads. And still, we are on the same track, the orientation on the Philippine professional standards for school heads. This is it. Let us get acquainted with our PPSH. This is something new because we've been doing and practicing another thing, but there is no so much difference about it. However, as things go by, as time goes by, we must have to update and upgrade our activities to align with the crave of the time. We are going to familiarize yourselves with focus on the career stages, domains, strands, and indicators. What are these all about? You might have been tired listening to all these words and phrases already. However, for purposes of retention and more understanding, better understanding about this new thing in our present times, it's nice that we are going to tell you and share you once again in this session so that we will understand better. This is it. The Philippine Professional Standards for Schoolheads. This is now the answer to your crave, our dear schoolheads, when we were cascading the Philippine Standards for Teachers. Ang tanong nyo noon, kung may teacher, bakit wala sa schoolhead? So we will not be able to know what are we tracking to the schoolheads. But thanks God, with the support of our officials in the Department of Education, the Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads is now in. In this slide, it was already presented two times. This is now the third. But as I have said, as we repeat things together, we better and clearer understand each other, including the implementation of these orders. The journey to this DepEd order started in October 31, 2018. And finally, we now have DepEd Order 24 Series of 2020, duly signed by no other than our very own Secretary of Education, Madam Leonor Magpolis Briones, last September 7, 2020. After many rigorous researches and consultation activities from the start up to its refinement, now we have it. DepEd Order number 24, Series 2020, which is all about the national adoption and implementation of the Philippine Professional Standards for Schoolheads. Through DepEd Order number 24, Series of 2020, again, now, the reality, the provision of this booklet, which gave us as our reference. We are excited, and we hope you are too, because you have now a guide and clear directions in doing your functions as schoolheads. Your reference to create a school that is effective and a house of quality. It is then fundamental that you as schoolheads should develop effective schools through developing people. Hence, the school head must be a people-centered person. In this session, we are going to have the introduction to the PPSSH, career stages, domains, strands, and indicators. But mine, we are going to focus only on the career stages. My partner, Sir Liberato Umangay, will be discussing and sharing with you the domains, the strands, and indicators vary in depthly. Before going any further, so that we will not be confused, why again? Before it was NCBSH, but now again it is PPSSH. Which really you might be asking to yourself, to your neighbor, or your co-school head. But is now, but now we are going to look at the difference or differences if there may be from the national competency-based standards for school heads and the Philippine professional standards for school heads. Look at the first column. There are 7 domains, but in the 7th column, there are only 5 domains. Now, the question would be, what among the domains in the NCB SSH is removed to come up with the PPSSH? My friends, there is no difference. If you are a critical observer, you can already get the answer by just looking into the color codes of the first column and the second column. However, we are going to take it individually or one by one after the other. For domain 1, under column 1, which is on the column of NCBSSH, it is domain school leadership. And in the PPSS, it is leading strategically. So the indicators and strands are the same in domain 1 for the first and the second column. For domain 2, which is instructional leadership, and domain 3, which has a bearing to instructional leadership but titled Creating a Student-Centered Learning Climate. These two are lumped together to come up with domain number 3 with the title Focusing on Teaching and Learning. And as we go on to domain number 4, which is Human Resource Management and Professional Development, it maintains its place. However, the scope or the title is now made into Developing Self and Others, which both talk on professional development of the people in the school system. And to include also is domain 7, which means domain 4 and domain 7 are lumped together. And domain 7 is personal and professional attributes and interpersonal effectiveness. My friends, these two, 4 and 7, are lumped to come up with domain number 4. The next domain is number 5, or domain number 5, which is all about parent involvement and community partnership. And in our PPSH, it maintains its order, still domain number 5, and talks about building connections and the indicators of the domains in NCBSSH is captured also in this PPSSH. And the last but not the least, domain number 6, which is school management and daily operations. It is in the PPSH domain number 2, which is titled Managing School Operations and Resources, which covers financial management. And in here, this is very basic in managing our schools, in operating our schools, and that purchasing, disbursement, and liquidation are essential in this domain, including the implementation of the procurement law or Republic Act 9184. Okay, we look at the features of these new standards. There are four career stages, and it has five domains with 34 strands and 34 indicator across the career stages. The domains are, we will just do it in passing because this will be in-depthly discussed by Sir Liber. As we have seen a while back, domain number one is leading strategically. Two is managing school operations and resources. Three is focusing on teaching and learning. Four, developing self and others. And five, building connections. So here are your duties and responsibilities. You might have been doing this, my friends, for several years, for several months, or just now. And if you have been doing this for several years, experience or your experience will tell which among these domains is or are your favorites to be. Is it number one, number two, three, four, or five? My friends, as a school head, no domain should be over and above the other domains. All of these five domains should be given due attention because this is the standard set for you to do as an instructional leader and a resource manager of your own beloved school. There should be balanced implementation of all of these domains because it will make your school and people efficient and effective. We have here the domains. We'll take this as an example. Domain 1, which is leading strategically. And this was already presented a while back and well defined by the first and second speaker. But again, because these are the connections we are going to retell what they are all about. Domain is a broad defined by specific strands in the PPSSH. And that its domain is or should be with four career stages. Career stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that career stages, these are the descriptions of your developmental practice. The third one is the strands. These are the specific dimensions of practice under a domain in the professional standards. So you can see the domain is the biggest as if it is likened to a funnel that it is getting smaller in scope, especially if we talk about the indicators, because these are the concrete, observable, and measurable school head behavior practice covered in every strand in the PPSH. Well, you will understand. The domain shall be understood by understanding the strands and indicators, because the strands and indicators para po tayo may technical glitch. Sandali lang po, nag-e-echo lang. Hindi ko naman nililinig. Okay na?
Hello, excuse me, we're having a bit of technical glitch. May we be informed if the audio is already okay? Hello, mic test. Are we still experiencing feedback? May we have may we please have the comments in the YouTube if there's still echo in the audio? Is it okay? Thank you very much.
Okay. Talagang ganyan po ang problema natin dito po sa ating online delivery of information to the field. And so my friends have been saying, each domain have its strands, and each strand has indicator across career stages. Now, the focus of this sharing, the Philippine professional standards for school heads career stages. It is placed there, career stage 1, career stage 2, career stage 3, and career stage 4. Just plainly as that. But if we are going to scrutinize this slide, there are several colors. We have there for career stage 1 has another color than that of the other career stages. Why? The colors denote the progression of competencies. And these are the guideposts so that you can determine what to do if you plan to progress from one stage to another. Each stage should be evidenced by professional practice that is expected of a quality professional. And in your level, the quality school head in any of the career stages where you belong. These career stages are the framework for development. They are developmental in nature. They are from the beginning, which is the career stage 1, to exemplary practice, which is the career stage 2. This is the summary of presentation of the four career stages for you, our dear students. This is the dashboard wherein, as we flash them, you can easily see the highlighted phrases, those written in the blue ones. And for career stage one, we can vividly see, demonstrate basic knowledge and understanding. These are for the aspiring skillheads who choose to become principals, or they are the teachers who have been assigned in schools and doing the job of school heads, just like the officers in charge and the teachers in charge. They have acquired the prerequisite qualifications. One of these qualifications, this only one, is passing the principal qualifying examination. For career stage number two, what is highlighted there is professionally independent in performing their functions. They are independent, which means they can do without assistance. And this is likened to a driver, car driver, that the driver can drive without looking at the gear shifter to change gear if is already proficient using his car, driving his car for several years, months, or have had experienced good immersion with his driving skills. For career stage 3, this is they exhibit advanced skills in performing their functions. Take note, advanced skills. As institutional leader and administrative manager, they introduce innovation. They do not just do driving, but they do innovations. Perhaps enhancement with their driving skills that are in conformance with the laws about land transportation. This introduction of innovations shall in turn improve in, improve performance, and this will make their schools something unique with and as against the other schools. And for the fourth career stage, can you hear me, my friends? Okay. And for the fourth stage, what is highlighted is model the highest standards of practice. This school has the highest standards. If we may say that school is already for benchmarking for other schools, for every practice that they have introduced, for any innovation that they have performed for the betterment of their instruction, and for performance improvement, there should be sustainability to these practices, and that we maintain exemplary performance. What is the barometer? Your aura. The pursuit of your aura as an instructional leader in conformance with the standards and even going beyond. This is seen in your OPCR. OPCR that went through the cycle, not OPCR just for the end of the school year for signature and affirming the scores that we would like to attain. These are OPCRs supported with documents to show that such activity or activities has been or have been accomplished as reflected in the AIP that is called from the SIP that is aligned or SIP that is aligned with the DEDP of the division office manned by the school's division superintendent. Okay, so that we will understand, we are going to take them one by one with all their descriptions. For career stage 1, we maintain the highlighted place there. We have already discussed that this stage is for school heads or aspiring school heads that have acquired the prerequisite qualification for school head position. Aspiring sister, that means these are the PICs or OICs occupying the position and doing the work of a student. They demonstrate basic knowledge and understanding of authority, responsibility, and accountability expected of the students. They have also acquired the minimum qualifications to perform their functions as instructional leaders and administrative managers. They are equipped with exceptional teaching and or leadership skills described by Career Stage 3 and or Career Stage 4 in the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers or other relevant equivalent qualifications and skills. Take a look. They should be in Career Stage 3 or Career Stage 4 in the PPST or when they were teachers. That's why they are placed as officers in charge and teachers in charge in schools in their respective districts and divisions. Okay? For career stage 2, not stage 1, or else the school head is substandard. He does not meet the standard set in stage 2 as proficient. As it is stipulated in Jesus' life, the school head apply the required knowledge and understanding of the aura expected of them described in the PPSSH. They are professionally independent, can now do the job of a real school head as instructional leaders and administrative managers. Do you hear me? Kanina daw. Kanina? Oo. Naka 87 na siya. Please adjust. Sige naman. I will make it closer. Naka-headset na siya.
If we open this one of the logo,
Okay na?
Okay na?
Okay na po ba? Audible na po ang ating sounds. Kanina pa? Okay. Hello. The school head is professionally independent in performing his function. He plans for the activities with, of course, his staff before going to school, implement the plan, and after which do professional reflection as to how things went through. What are the things that went well, and what are the things that did not go well. He needs to involve school personnel in the professional learning and professional advancement, and encourages stakeholder participation to improve school performance. He is the school head who really takes a look with what his SIP and AIP are dictating to her, telling to her, are these really the planned activities for us to do in this planned time of the year? So there must be reflection every after activity or every after plan that they have made with the teaching staff and other school stakeholders that are needed in the implementation of the plans, programs, and projects for the improvement of learning outcomes. Reflection practices are really very important. This is somewhat to check whether what you have done for the day is correct or wrong. Is it included in our skill plan or not? And things are not done hit or miss. For career stage 3, exhibit advanced skills in performing their functions. It says there that the school heads consistently display in-depth knowledge and understanding of the authority, responsibility, accountability expected of them. They establish shared governance and continuously reflect on and take steps to address their development efforts. So, he knows his aura. They do shared governance, not one-man planning and implementation. They introduce innovations and address developmental needs of his staff towards the attainment of instructional goals. The school head is not afraid of the growth and development of his people. He is not intimidated. Instead, he supports the growth and development of his personnel and his staff. And for career stage number 4, he exhibits the highest standard. He models and carries within the highest standard of practice. There is mastery. He commits to inspire all personnel of the school and other school leaders. He empowers the learning community in making policies, planning programs, activities and projects, implementation and monitoring of the planned activities, and in this sense, they are aware of what is happening and what are happening in the school system. And by doing so, they could better understand their role to help the school improve its performance because they are co-owners of the policies, plans for improvement for the school performance. So this is the fourth stage. My dear friends, please reflect. Where are you in these career stages? You are already a 5-year-old school head in the same school. You become for monitoring. What is your answer? What stage do you belong? To play safe, is it number one? Is it number two? Number three? Or number four? As a matter of introspection on your aura as a school head for some time or several years, kindly put in your chat box what career stage do you belong. Please put your name, your school, and division. My dear friends, after 3 minutes, we shall be reading your responses, and that we are going to continue with the sharing of Sir Liber Umangay with the domains and um, and other information that is placed in his topic for this morning with you, my friends. Thank you very much for listening. Minus the technical glitch, we hope we were able to take some inputs to get some important notes in the sharing pertaining the career stages, your career stages as placed in the Philippine professional standards for school heads. Thank you, my friends, and we hope that you were able to capture even just one input from this session. Thank you very much. Good morning, and please stay safe. God bless.
Okay, so we will be reading some of the answers in a while. So we'll be waiting for the input. So may I just ask if we still have feedback or echo? We do apologize for the technical glitches. We try to fix as much as the problem with the echoing, or if not the echo, the low sound. So while I'm still speaking, may we have some feedback also with regards to the audio while waiting for the answers of um, our participants, in which Ma'am Zenny has posted a while ago or has told us. Okay. Sige po.
Pwede na po ako Yes, ito na lang. Parang hindi na po. Kasi nag-close na rin. Naririnig naman ma'am yung pero it's either mahina or lugi. Ikaw na lang. Basta dyan tayo. Kung naririnig ko na Sige.
Okay, we have a lot of answers coming in, so we'll just select a few. So we have correct me if Sir Pabs Malena. So he said that he is still in career, he's in career stage 2. So Sir is in Maconacon National High School, SDO Isabela. So we also have Ma'am Nida Aranda. So from the schools division, City of Ilagan, career stage 3. So thank you so much, Ma'am Zenny, for sharing, and also congratulations. So the question of Ma'am Zenny earlier is a self-assessment. In which career stage do you feel you already belong? So we also have, okay, so we have an influx of answers for Ma'am Edna Lacerona, CD and HS, SDO Cagayan. I'm still on the first career stage, still learning the craft to becoming a school head, ma'am. One of which is joining such professional orientations like this. Very elaborate answer. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we'll be parking in the answers that we get from our participants. So to proceed with the second part of session 2, may we have Sir Liberato T. Omangay, Education Program Supervisor of the HRDB. So let's wait while Sir is still flashing his presentation. Okay, I'll give other answers. We have Sir Christopher A. Duran, BCHS, Bacolod Extension from SDO Kawayan. Still in career stage 1. We also have career stage 2. Ma'am Rosalina Rakhan, regarding myself. So from San Isidro East, CS Central School from SDO Isabela. So most of the answers come from career stage 1 and career stage 2. So we have another career stage 3, our second career stage 3, which is Richard Subia.
Yes, sir.
Okay na, Kams?
Okay,
Can I start?
the presentation is already on the screen. May we again welcome Sir Liberato T. Omangay. Sir Lib.
Magandang tanghali mga kasama. Can you hear me? Hello po, can you hear me?
Sir, you are heard. So may we have in the comment section if we still experience echoes or feedback.
The presentation memorize.
Okay, can you now hear me? Hello. Okay na? Okay. So magandang tanghali mga kasama. Again, there are 1,169 who are actually viewing right now. I hope this number will bear with me until such time that I'll be able to finish my presentation, because this afternoon we shall still be having another presentations or another session. So once again, good day to everyone. Much have been said about the new standards, the Philippine professional standards for school heads by the previous speakers. We have Sir Je, Ma'am Bing, and of course, Ma'am Zen. Just a few moments ago, Ma'am Seni has led us to the discussion of the different descriptions of the developmental practices a school head must have in the new professional standards. This time, let us discuss, let us take a look at the different domains, strands, and indicators. So what are domains? Domains, as clearly pointed out earlier by the previous speakers, are broad conceptual spheres of school leadership practices defined by the specific strands in the Philippine professional standards for school heads. The PPSSH domains are, we have one, leading strategically. In this domain, this shall encompass the school head's commitment to a strategic course of action consistent with institutional goals towards maximizing organizational performance. Domain 2, managing school operations and resources, highlights the school head's commitment in ensuring efficiency, effectiveness, and fairness in discharging functions towards maximizing organizational health. And you heard how Ma'am Zen discussed or pointed out this a while ago, pertaining to school operations and resources, and of course the financial aspects. Domain 3, focusing on teaching and learning, emphasizes the school head's commitment in providing instructional leadership towards improving competence among teachers and outcomes among learners. Domain 4, developing self and others, centers on the school head's commitment in ensuring people and team effectiveness. And of course, the fifth domain, building connections, points to the school head's commitment in advocating that education is everyone's responsibility. Now we proceed to the different strands. Again, strands are specific dimensions of practice under a domain in the PPSSH. So we have there under domain 1, strand 1.1, the vision, the mission, and the core values. In here, as implied and as gleaned, the DepEd mission, vision, and of course the core values are ensured to be shared in terms of the school policies, programs, projects, and activities. Strand 1.2, school planning and implementation. In here, the school head shall communicate and implement with the planning team school plans aligned with institutional goals and policies. Strand 1.3, we have policy implementation and review. And in here, The school head shall undertake policy implementation and review in the school to ensure that operations are consistent with national and local laws, regulations, and of course, the issuances. Strand 1.4, we have research and innovations that the school head must utilize relevant research findings from reliable sources in facilitating data-driven and evidence-based innovations to improve school performance. Strand 1.5 is program design and implementation. In here, as it implies, there should be the implementation of the programs in school with the support rather, to the development of the learners. Then we have 1.6, the learner's voice, wherein the feelings, the views, and our opinions to inform policy development and decision making towards the school improvement are its focus. We have Strand 1.7, that is monitoring and evaluation processes and tools that different tools must have to be utilized in such a way that monitoring and evaluation would have to be upheld. We proceed to the second domain. And as has been said earlier, Domain 2 highlights the school head's commitment in ensuring efficiency, effectiveness, and fairness in discharging functions towards maximizing organizational health. And, and this domain would now be managing school operations and resources. Under it, we have the following strands. We have records management, financial management, school facilities and equipment, management of staff, school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation and resiliency, particularly now that we are in the pandemic, and of course, emerging opportunities and challenges. So those are the different strands under Domain 2. There are 6 of them. While in Domain 3, focusing on teaching and learning, this domain emphasizes the school head's commitment in providing instructional leadership towards improving competence among teachers and outcomes among learners. Under it, we have Strand 3.1, that is school-based review, contextualization, and implementation of learning standards. Strand 3.2, teaching standards and pedagogies. And in here, the provision of technical assistance to teachers on teaching standards and pedagogies within and across learning areas to improve their teaching practice is ensured by no less than you, the school heads. Strand 3.3, the teacher performance feedback. As has been said, feedback would now be the breakfast of champions. So there must be feedback that would have to be there in such a way that the teacher would have to improve his or her performance. We have the next is Strand 3.4, learner achievement and other performance indicators. We have Strand 3.5 that focuses on learning assessment, 3.6 on learning environment, 3.7 career awareness and opportunities, wherein the school heads shall ensure integration of career awareness and opportunities in the provision of learning experiences aligned with, of course, the curriculum. And the last is Strand 3.8, which is the learner discipline. The implementation of policies are taken into account in this particular strand in such a way that there must be a collaborative efforts between and among the stakeholders, parents, school personnel, and the community for the purpose for that domain, focusing on teaching and learning. We have the next, which would now be the developing self and others. wherein this domain centers on the school head's commitment in ensuring people and team effectiveness. Under it, we have Strand 4.1, Personal and Professional Development, Strand 4.2, Professional Reflection and Learning, Strand 4.3, we have Professional Networks, wherein the school head shall participate in the professional networks to upgrade knowledge and skills, and of course, to enhance practice. Strand 4.4, we have performance management, as we've been used to, and we have the next, Strand 4.5, professional development of school personnel. So, professional development programs or initiatives shall be taken into account here in such a way that the strengths, in such a way that there must be an enhancement of strengths and of course to address the performance gaps between and among the different school personnel. We have Strand 4.6, leadership development in individuals and teams. Strand 4.7, general welfare of human resources, such that there will be implementation of laws, policies, guidelines, and issuances on the rights, privileges, and benefits of school personnel to ensure their general welfare. And if the 7 would be there must be an inclusion of Strand 4.8, which would now spell out rewards and recognition mechanism. The 5th domain would now be the building connections. And under it, we have Strand 5.1. And that is now the management of diverse relationships. That in here, constructive relationship with authorities, colleagues, parents, and other stakeholders must be there to foster an enabling and supportive environment for the learners. Strand 5.2 is management of school organizations. That the school organization shall be managed in such a way that it has something to do with the learners. Then we have Strand 5.3, we have inclusive practice. That the school head shall exhibit inclusive practices such as gender sensitivity, physical and mental health awareness, and culture responsiveness to foster awareness, acceptance, and respect. We have Strand 5.4, which is communication. That communicating effectively in speaking and writing to teachers, learners, parents, and the other stakeholders through positive use of communication platforms to facilitate information sharing, collaboration, and of course, we have
Ma'am, ito
the
yung salarin. Yung
support.
screening device.
Then we have
Ito yung binigay ko sa inyo.
the last
Pero
strand,
dapat pala, pag
community
nagsasalita
engagement.
kayo, masyado kayo dapat malayo.
Those, ladies and gentlemen, are the different
YouTube.
domains which we have in
Dapat
the
ito,
Philippine Professional
ganun
Standards
lang
for
siya. Kaso lang ang
school
problema,
heads.
ma'am.
Now, we proceed to the different indicators across career stages. Ma'am Zen had discussed earlier, and of course, with Sir Jerry, how we are to move from one career stage to another. And in there, we need the different indicators.
Alam ko naman.
And as had been defined, indicators are concrete, observable, and measurable school heads practices covered in every of the in every strand in the Philippine Professional Standard of for school heads.
Kaso lang nung
Let us see the progression
si Sir Liber,
of the indicators as one shifts from one career stage to another.
Kaya dapat talaga may
This time,
na
we're going to have two examples. That is, taking strand 1.2 from domain 1, and another example would be given earlier, later, for the other example. So let us now look into
So ito, ikaw ang
how
salarin, walang yaka.
one progresses from one career stage to another.
Naka-livestream ka, babe?
So in strand 1.2, which is on school planning and implementation. In career stage 1, demonstration of knowledge and understanding of the phases of development and implementation of school plans aligned with institutional goals and policies would only be the focus. While having demonstrated it, moving into the next career stage, take note of the word develop and implement. With the planning team, school plans aligned with institutional goals and policies. So may we go back. In 1.2.1, indicator, demonstration of knowledge and understanding of the phases of development and implementation lang. While in career stage 2, there would now be the development and the implementation with the planning team. So for the first, demonstration might be self, but in career stage 2, we have now the planning team that would be involved in planning and of course implementation. And in the next stage, career stage 3, we have now the engagement of the school community in the development and implementation of school plans aligned, of course, with the goals and policies. So when we look at career stages 1, 2, and 3, there is a distinct difference. There are distinct differences of one career stage to another. Okay. And we now proceed to the career stage 4, in which the indicator 1.2.4 would now be there. So we have share with fellow school heads best practice in the development and implementation of school plans aligned with institutional goals and objectives. So again, look at how one shifts from one career stage to another by making use of the different indicators. So to wrap up, career stage 1, demonstration only. Career stage 2, development and implementation with the planning team. So larger na ang scope. Planning team pa lang. But in the career stage 3, the engagement of the whole school community is already there. And of course, career stage 4 or indicator 1.2.4, sharing with fellow school heads your best practices in the development and implementation of school plans aligned with institutional goals and policies. So that's how one would be going from one career stage to another in domain 1. Now we have another example here to discuss some of the different indicators in career stage 2. Take note that we are going to take only Strand 2.5, having indicators 2.5.1, 2.5.2, 2.5.3, and 2.5.4 as one or as a school head would shift from one career stage to another. So Strand 2.5 is school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation, and resiliency. So this was made as an example because this would now fit to where we are now, to what we are suffering, the pandemic we are in. So again, in career stage 1, or in the indicator 2.5.1, it says there that the school head shall demonstrate knowledge and understanding of laws, policies, guidelines, and issuances of managing school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation, and resiliency in ensuring continuous delivery of instruction. So it's there. May pandemic man, continuous pa rin ang education. Di po ba? So that should not be the reason why education should stop. So demonstration of the knowledge and understanding of laws are embodied in career stage 1 in indicator 2.5.1. While in indicator 2.5.2, let's now shift, gaya ng sabi ni Ma'am Zen kanina, shifting from first year to the second year, or the career stage 1 to career stage 2, it must be noted that there is already here the word manage is school safety for disaster preparedness. So after demonstrating the knowledge and understanding, the school heads are expected to manage in career stage 2 school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation, and resiliency to ensure continuous delivery of instruction. Moving on to career stage 3, to indicator 2.5.3, the school head must now work with a wider school community. Take note of the scope. Kanina, it's just on the management of school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation, and resiliency. But now, in the next stage, the school head must now work with the wider school community in managing their school safety. And of course, indicator 2.5.4, or that is now in the career stage 4, the school head belonging here would now institutionalize the effective management of school safety for disaster preparedness, mitigation, and resiliency to sustain continuous delivery of instruction. Again, we have to take into account that in terms of the different indicators, it follows that as you move from one career stage to another, there would now be an accompanying heavier load on the school head. A wider scope, not only a wider scope, but wider in terms of everything. Okay, so meantime, we're going to end here discussing indicators using domain 1 and domain 2. All the other indicators shall be discussed this afternoon. I hope that you are now enlightened with the domains, strands, and the shift of the different indicators as a school head moves from one career stage to another. So it's a productive day with you. And once again, should you have some questions, it's already 12:09, and there are already some who are already asking if we can have lunch now, but we thank you for you stayed up to this time, up to 12:09, such that you'll be able to have, of course, ideas or some insights pertaining to domains. We have strands, and another one would now be the indicators with no less than the career stages discussed by Ma'am Zen a while back.